Welcome back to another edition of the Saturday to Sunday Football Podcast. I am Paul Perdichizzi, and thank you for joining me. As always, day 4 of the NFL Combine is in the books. The offensive linemen hit the ground in Indianapolis today to do the on-field drills, the athletic testing, and just as we have done each of the previous 3 days, instant reactions to what I saw from the drills on the field, from the athletic testing scores, to kind of make sense of this O-line class. If you have missed any of the 3 previous episodes, please get back and listen to them. We did an instant reaction pod for all 3 days of the Combine. We dug in for almost like 45 minutes on day 1, talking about those edge prospects, linebacker prospects, and the defensive tackle prospects. Then day 2, we talked about the secondary, the corners, the safeties, and we pivoted finally to the offensive side of the ball to talk about those tight ends. And then last night, we talked about quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends. And now we wrap it up with day 4 of the Combine, our instant reactions to what happened with the offensive linemen today. So let's get right into it. I'm just going to go straight alphabetical order. I just think it's an easier way. There were 2 groups who hit the ground for the offensive lineman prospects. I just think it's easier to kind of keep my focus by just going straight down the line. I will talk about projection, where they are, just so you understand what caliber prospect they are if you were checking this out and are not familiar so much with the offensive line guys. Obviously, that's not usually our focus here. First one I want to bring up, Chase Besantis out of Texas A&M. This is a guy who's going to go day 2 on the NFL draft. He's going to go right in, plug and play, offensive guard. He had a 5.02 40-yard dash time, 1.76 10-yard split, and had solid jumps at the offensive line position. This is a player that I'm really intrigued with at the next level. He's a guy who probably will go off the board. My guess is somewhere late round 2 to early round 3, but you're talking about a guy who can be a starting offensive guard in a gap or a zone scheme. I thought he looked really smooth in the on-field drills. He checked that box. He checked the athletic testing box. So this is a guy who you saw athleticism on tape, and it matched really well when we're talking about what we saw here at the Combine. Next guy, this was a little bit of a surprise. Parker Brailsford, the center out of Alabama, tested out phenomenally. 4.96 40-yard dash time, 1.7 10-yard split. He had a 32.5 on the vert and 9.10 on the broad jump. This is a player who had been getting like some day 3 buzz, maybe like round 4, round 5. I think he's going to be more solidified in the earlier portion of day 3 now. He's obviously a little bit undersized. Ideal for a zone scheme. We saw that today with his athletic movement skills. He's really quick. Good footwork, good short area. You saw that on the on-field drills. He looked really smooth. The testing matched it up in terms of the 40 and that stuff as well. So I thought it was a really good day for Parker Brailsford out of Alabama. Another guy I want to talk about, DJ Campbell, the offensive guard out of Texas. I think he's best in a power gap scheme, but I thought he tested out really well today athletically for a big guy. So Campbell came in today at 6'3", 313 pounds. I was expecting like a 5.2. He ran a 5.01 40-yard dash time, 1.76 10-yard split. So I thought those were really good numbers for a guy who is bread and butter is his strength, his power, the ability to move people in the run game, especially in that power gap scheme. So I thought it was a strong performance from DJ Campbell today as well. Another guy who I want to make note of, Spencer Fano. I know the early buzz from earlier today was just how short his arm length was. And whether or not that's going to limit him or prevent him from reaching his ceiling at offensive tackle is to be determined. We saw Will Campbell still go early last year. This is even shorter than that. But what he did the rest of the day, the athletic testing, the on-field drills, you saw a guy with very good to great athleticism, movement skills, lateral quickness, range and footwork, really good body control. He's going to be a really good offensive lineman. Just figuring out where he fits and how to minimize or mitigate those length concerns is going to be the biggest concern from Spencer Fano. But in terms of the testing today, we're talking about a guy who ran a 4.91 40 with a 1.72 10-yard split and had a 32 on the vert and a 9.3 on the broad jump. Really, really good numbers. and he matched that up with smoothness and fluidity, good footwork, very clean. I thought it was a really good on-field performance from Spencer Fano here. Maybe he's not in the mix to go top 5, top 6, but I still think somewhere top 10, top 15, he's coming off the board. Jalen Farmer out of Kentucky. Right now, I look at him as like a round 3, round 4 type. Upside to be a starting offensive guard, best in the gap scheme. He had a really good day today in terms of the testing. He ran a 4.9340 with a 1.75 10-yard split, showing quickness, fluidity, the athleticism. It was a good day for Jalen Farmer from what we saw today. Next guy I want to talk about, Monroe Freeland out of Georgia. I'm not sure he goes out of it. I'm not sure he makes it out of the top 15 right now. To me, he checks all the boxes in terms of athleticism, length. There's questions about the other top offensive linemen in this prospect. Freeland looks and feels like a true offensive tackle prospect. The other ones I think are going to get an opportunity to play it, but I just think there's too much upside with Freeland that he's not going to get an opportunity to go high in this draft, top 15, top 20 bare minimum, but I think he goes in the top 15. Is there some inconsistencies? Yeah, there's some inconsistencies in his game where he'd be a top 5, top 10 pick. But everything in terms of the upside and the ceiling, we saw on display today. 4.9340, 1.71 10-yard split, 33.5 on the vert, 9.7 on the broad. Tested out as a great athlete at the tackle position, 6'7", 315, great length. There's a lot to like about Freeland's game, and I think it's going to set him up to be, depending on the other guys, maybe OT3, top 15 type pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Another guy I want to talk about, Sam Heck out of Kansas State. He had a really good Senior Bowl week, carried that over to this. I think he's now ticketed for the top 100, starting offensive center, zone scheme best suits him. He came out today, and I think he just checked off more boxes, just like he did at the Senior Bowl. 5.1 40-yard dash, 1.73 10-yard split. Really good. We saw from him at the Senior Bowl. We saw it again on display here. So pre-draft process is really helped out Sam Heck, who prior to the Senior Bowl, I don't know if he was a consensus top 100 guy, but I think now he's slowly trending that way to come off the board in the top 100 and be one of the top centers in this draft class. The guy from the first group who probably will generate the most buzz is Max Ionacher out of Arizona State. And this has been building too. Really strong Senior Bowl week. Late to the game of football. Didn't even start playing until like the latter part of his high school. But we're talking about big-time athleticism, strength, size. He's still developing techniques and instincts. But now I think he's on the border of round 1, round 2. And I would not be surprised if he comes off the board on night 1 of the 2026 NFL draft. And he just continued that momentum today with how well he looked in the on-field drills and then the athletic testing as well. 4.9140, 6'6", 321. A 4.9140, 1.73 10-yard split. Good jumps as well. Good positional drill workout. It's going to be, if I was making a mock draft tomorrow morning, he'd be in my round 1. There's just too many teams that need offensive tackle prospects. Too many teams need big-time offensive tackles, and he's got a lot of upside to be a really, really good one. So I would ticket him for round 1 of the 2026 NFL draft. Next up, Logan Jones out of Iowa. He may have helped himself as much as anybody today, because I think most people probably thought maybe like round 5, round 6. Now I think you're probably talking early round 4 for this guy. I mean, early round 3, round 4, early day 3. He tested out really good. We know Iowa offensive linemen, always well-trained, good techniques, good instincts. And then he comes out today and shows really good athleticism. His on-the-field workout was fantastic. His testing was fantastic. 4.9 40-yard dash time, 1.75 10-yard split, good jumps. Logan Jones was a real winner from the offensive line group for today. Vega Ione out of Penn State didn't do the athletic testing, but looked really good in the on-field drills. Pound for pound, he's probably the best offensive lineman prospect in this draft class, but he's a guard only, 6'4", 320. He did do the jumps. Sorry, I take that back. He did do the jumps, solid jumps, didn't do the 40-yard, looked really good in the on-field drills. I don't see him getting out of the top 15. Do not see him getting out of the top 15 with how desperate teams are. Teams value the interior offensive lineman a lot more than they used to. Just look and see what they get paid on the open market on the regular basis now. So I just think somebody's going to look at him and say, he's too good. It's hard to look at him. If you're talking about safe prospects, but also high ceilings, that's him. I don't see any way he's not a really good all Pro Bowl to all pro type guard. And with questions about the tackles in this class, how high does he maybe get pushed up the board? I think is a legitimate question that we should be having. Blake Miller out of Clemson. I think he's going off the board in round one, whether it's late teens, whether it's in the 20s. But Blake Miller checked off the boxes he needed to today to solidify his status in the first round. 6'6", 317, ideal measurements, 5.04 in the 40, 1.75 10-yard split, good jumps, show good movement skills and fluidity in the on-field drills. I know Clemson had a down year, but a lot of guys from Clemson are still going to be highly regarded, and Miller's one of those guys who I think you're going to hear come off the board somewhere in the 20s of the 2026 NFL draft. A surprise name. Talked about Logan Jones being a surprise. Another surprise was Micah Morris out of Georgia. We knew legit strength, power, punish guys in front of him. But he tested out better as an athlete today than I think a lot of people gave him credit for. I thought he could play in a gap or a zone scheme. I put that out in my tweet about him as he was running the 40 today. But what he did today, I think even surprised me a little bit in terms of the athleticism. So this is a guy who's 6'5" for 344. 6'5" for 344. He ran a 5.09 40. And he showed good fluidity and quickness in the on-field drills as well. So I think he really helped himself out today, solidifying somewhere early on day 3. He's got the Georgia background. He's got good testing. And now he might not be so limited to only a gap power run scheme. Because I think he showed more in terms of his athleticism than people thought he had in his repertoire. So I think it was a good day for Micah Morris out of Georgia. Caden Proctor out of Alabama. Another one of those round 1 tackles. He's going to go somewhere off the board, 15 to 25 probably. Great athleticism. Still developing techniques and stuff. I feel like that's kind of the theme with some of these tackles. But he had a strong day today as well. Across the board. 5.21 40, 1.84 10-yard split. 32.5 in terms of the vert. 9.1 in terms of the broad. Checking the boxes that he needed to make sure he keeps his status as a round 1 guy. Kalen Rutledge at Georgia. I think today kind of solidified day 2 for him. Thought he was on that border of round 3, early round 4. But I think he showed enough in terms of the athleticism today that teams are just looking for guys who could help out in the offensive line. And Rutledge is one of those guys who can be a plug-and-play starter on the interior. 6'4", 316. He checked in at today. 5.05 40, 1.81 10-yard split, 32.5 vert. Really strong numbers for him that I think is going to make him a top 100 pick in the draft. And then one other offensive lineman I thought helped himself out was Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame. He's got really good size. Frame is just average. I think he's a depth offensive tackle, but he's got some upside traits. I think he's best suited for a gap run scheme. But what I liked about him today, came in at 6'6", 306. He ran a 5.01 40. That's going to help his cause. Because he showed better movement skills than I think a lot of people thought he was. That opens up the possibility for him to maybe help out in a zone scheme as well. Potentially be that swing tackle that every single team in the NFL needs. So I thought it was a strong day for Emil Wagner, who was one of the better offensive line prospects down at the Shrine Bowl as well. So while I think this offensive line class is a little bit on the weaker side compared to some years in terms of like, you don't have the lock in top 5, top 10 type pick guaranteed. I think we're going to see some guys. I think Spencer Fano will still go. I think we'll see the Miami guy, whether he plays right tackle or guard, he's going. I think the quantity is strong in the top 50, top 40, but not the elite guys without questions. Even a lot of the guys I talked about today, they're still developing. They're still developing techniques. There's still some questions, but they got the size, they got the frame, they got the athleticism, and teams are craving help along the offensive line. So I think it's a good group. I think it's a better group in terms of the depth and the quantity they have. I think if you need a starting center, you just starting centers throughout this draft. I think if you want to get an offensive tackle, you probably got to be aggressive in the top 40 or so picks. Couple offensive guards you can find throughout as well. So I think it's a solid group. Don't think it's a star-studded, can't miss type group, but I think it's a solid group nonetheless. Combine's in the books. Now we turn our attention. All-Star games are done. Combine's done. Pro days start coming up soon enough. March is here. It's March 1st today. Pro days will be for about the next 4 or 5 weeks with free agency sprinkled in, which does alter the trajectory of the draft a lot. And then before you know it, it's going to be April, and then it's draft month. And the draft is early this year, April 23rd to 25th. Sometimes it gets pushed to the a little bit later in April, like the 27th to the 28th, 27th, 28th to like the 30th to 29th. So here it's a little bit earlier. So it's going to sneak up quick. Here it's Saturday, Sunday, give you the rundown of what's to come. We just did our 4 recap shows for the Combine every day. If you were following me on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, every single prospect that was at the Combine, I gave my snapshot of how they win, draft projection, every 40 time, tweeted out if they ran the 40, if they didn't run the 40. I said that too, with a snapshot of who they were as a player. Shared some initial dynasty tiers in terms of dynasty rookie drafts. Talked about a lot of the players, how they looked in terms of movements, the on-field drills as well. Here at Saturday, Sunday, we now slowly start to turn the page. We might do a stock report on the Combine. Haven't decided yet, but we did talk about a lot of guys. But then we have to, if I do that, great. If not, we turn the page to our Tier Buster series. Arguably one of my favorite series that we do here at Saturday, Sunday. These tiers, we've been doing them for almost a decade now. Exclusive to Saturday, Sunday. Combines our film evals. Combines draft projection. What we think they're going to be at the next level. And tie in a little fantasy to it as well. So we'll have our tiered ranking show for the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers, and the tight ends. We'll probably have a free agency frenzy show, maybe 2 of them, where we talk about the impact on the draft, the impact on dynasty. And then before you know it, we'll be honing in on late March. And then hopefully late March through early April, I can get some guests from the industry on, pick their brains about these prospects, bounce ideas off of them, hear their takes, things that send me back. And then before you know it, it'll be final ranking show, my guys show, projecting the draft show. And then it'll be all of a sudden it'll be the draft will be here, and there'll be recap shows every single night of the 2026 NFL draft. Behind the scenes, I'll continue to be working on the draft projections notebook. I'll be keeping rankings notebook updated constantly. Scouting notebook updated constantly. It's the best way to help support the show. If you're new to S2S, if you just found us over the Combine weekend, get over to the website, SS Football, fastest and easiest way to get there. For $9.99, you can get access to all our notebooks. You get 2 immediately. You get 1 more in April, all for the price of $9.99. I promise you, there will be tons of information you can use, whether you're a draft fan, a fan of a specific team, a dynasty player. You will find your money's worth in there for $9.99. If you've purchased it in the past, but you haven't picked it up this year, please consider purchasing it again. It is the lifeblood of what keeps us afloat here. If you've been a long-time listener but never purchased it, I really hope you consider checking it out to help us out here. Every single sale goes right back in to just server fees, subscription fees, everything we need to just continue to do this on the side. Obviously, any of you who know me well and have been long-time listeners knows I'm a full-time teacher, parent, husband, but I put a lot of time into all this stuff, and I know I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things to do. So hopefully, if you've been a long-time listener, you consider purchasing the notebooks to help us out. Best time of the year. Excited to dig back into some guys who really stood out from the combine this week. Guys like Jeff Caldwell at Cincinnati, the wide receiver, and other guys. Definitely sending me back to the film to watch a little bit more on them for sure before I finalize some tiers and rankings and then kind of wait for pro days to kind of settle themselves out. I've enjoyed the interaction with some of you on Twitter, people popping in here on the live shows, leaving messages in the chat. Always enjoy it. So, on behalf of our sound tech engineer, David Nakano, and myself, thank you for joining us, and we look forward next time taking you from Saturday to Sunday.